Let me start with the administrator. Welcome again. Thank you. Thanks for the conversations we've had over a period of time. I wanted to highlight for you that I met with President Lopez Obrador of Mexico on a bipartisan, bicameral congressional delegation to Mexico City last month. I think he and I had a promising discussion about addressing synthetic opioids that are flooding across our southern border. My request of him is that we would do more to fight guns going to the south. Could he ask China to eliminate the precursor chemicals that are coming from China to Mexico? He indicated he was willing to do that. My understanding, at least from press reports, is that he has made that request in writing with China, with the Chinese government. Perhaps it's a development that has some benefit, but the fact remains that our two countries have had our challenges in cooperation in the drug wars, and I know the DEA remains significantly constrained in its capabilities or its abilities to operate in a way that you wish they could within those borders. Anything that would confirm that China will abide by the request of the president from Mexico, and give me an understanding of the state of affairs between drug enforcement in the United States and the situation in Mexico.
Thank you, Senator. And I think it's really important to start the conversation on China, because that is where this problem largely begins today. The vast majority of precursor chemicals that are going to Mexico and being made into fentanyl powder, as you note, are coming from China. We recently, in the Chapitos case, part of that indictment charges 4 Chinese nationals and a chemical broker from Guatemala with sourcing those chemicals to make fentanyl for the Chapitos, the leaders of the Sinaloa cartel right now. And importantly, in those charges and those allegations, we have included information that one of the Chinese nationals said that they knew that those chemicals were going to be used for fentanyl, and also that they were going to hide what those chemicals were in order to ship them out. So we have called on China to stop the shipment of precursor chemicals to Mexico as well. And we are, right now, for over a year, we have not had law enforcement cooperation with China. So we do have offices in China. We continue to try to work there because we believe it's vital to attack the entire supply chain. Right now, we're doing a network-wide approach that is looking at every piece. So we are targeting the Chinese precursor chemical companies as part of our work. Those chemicals now going into Mexico, my deepest concern, Senator, is that there is no limit on the amount of fentanyl or methamphetamine that the cartels can make beyond those chemicals. So that is the only limit right now, and so we must urgently work at that point. In terms of Mexico, we are very much looking to continue to work with Mexico and Mexican law enforcement. They recently arrested Ovidio Guzman, one of the Chapitos, which we thought was an important step forward. And of course, last year, they arrested RCQ. We do now want them to work with us together. We have 16 additional Mexican nationals who have not yet been arrested as part of the Chapitos investigation. It's vital to us. We have 7 folks in custody, but it's vital to us that we get everyone that's a part of that case extradited eventually to the United States to stand justice in a court of law here.
Well, I was pleased to see that the Mexican president did what he told me he would do, which was to make that request. I don't know what the Chinese response will be, and you've made that request. I guess you haven't had a response, or nothing's changed since you made that request, I assume.
Yes, Senator, we have not had a response, but we will continue to do the work we're doing and to target these largely unregulated chemical companies in China.
I spent time with DEA agents when I was in Mexico, and I admire and respect their work. Director Wray, you spent an enormous amount of your time warning us about us as policymakers about the Republic of China and its threat to our economy and our national security. I also note that you were successful in closing China's Ministry of Public Security in New York City. Is that a rare circumstance, or do these public security facilities continue to operate in the United States there or elsewhere?
So we have been successful in our law enforcement actions in getting the facility in New York shut down, and of course we've recently announced some arrests, which include obstruction of justice charges. And frankly, it is outrageous that the Chinese government would think that they could operate a facility like that in the United States without proper coordination. It violates our sovereignty, and it shows a flagrant disregard for well-established processes in the rule of law. And I wish I could tell you that their disregard for the rule of law was an aberration. I would say it's a pattern. And to me, it fits into a pattern that I've been calling out for some time now, which is harassment, stalking, intimidation, surveillance, blackmail of dissidents and critics of the CCP who live here in the United States. They don't do it only in the United States. They inflict the same kind of harm on dissidents in other countries as well. But if they try to use stations like the one in New York to conduct that kind of activity, they're going to keep encountering the FBI.
Thank you for your answer.
Thank you, Senator Moran.